Hi guys, it's Sophie. So today I wanted to do a video talking about a kind of genre of non-fiction that I'm loosely calling essay. And I want to kind of define what I mean by essay before I start, because I think it's broad, because I think it probably does have like a collective name but I don't know it. So what I'm defining essay as is the kind of non-fiction that's written where the author isn't presenting themselves almost as a narrator of a story that's outside of them. So if you have sort of a scientific non-fiction or political non-fiction, often the author is somewhat separate from what's happening. And I mean, I'm kind of going to be talking a little bit about things that might even sort of go into memoir a little bit, but I think memoir is a little bit separate from what I'm talking about. So what I'm going to do is show you a few books, a few essay collections that I've read, and just tell you why I like them, and a little bit about how I've got started reading essays, and what I think makes a good essay collection for each person. The first collection I wanted to start with is one I really liked, and it is Against Everything by Mark Grief. And this is a sort of collection of essays which are kind of diatribes against a lot of different things, so like exercise and like child rearing practices, and then it kind of goes into like music and like pop music and rap music and like cultural appropriation in rap music, and a little bit about, I think it does a little bit, it does a little bit about like war and police, a little bit about reality TV, YouTube, but they're all kind of not quite polemics, but definitely sort of negative pieces about things. I really like this. I thought it was a really interesting way of thinking about things, and whilst it's kind of negatively set, there are a few really positive things I've taken from this. And I'm going to compare this to one that I really didn't like, that's in the collection of essays that I read last year, which was Shame and Wonder by David Searchy. And this is a collection of essays around travel, and kind of the American like Midwest, and I think the difference between this book and Against Everything for me was how much I related to and how much I was interested in the thoughts of the person writing the essay. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because whilst, you know, there's a bond with an author often in whatever kind of book you're reading, I think essay particularly, you need to find some link to that person. Even if that link is that you desperately don't like what they're thinking, that's okay too. But with Shame and Wonder, I just didn't connect with him, so it fell very flat for me. And compare that to something like Notes in a Native Son by James Baldwin, which you guys know I read and loved. This is a collection of essays around the topic of race and racism, what it was like for James Baldwin growing up in Harlem, and his experiences like in Paris, and his experience kind of of life as a black man in the time that he was living. And I loved this book, you know I love this book, because his voice was so strong, and whilst I don't share sort of many common factors, like I am not in any way the same kind of position as James Baldwin is, I felt as though I could feel some kind of human link with him, if that makes any kind of sense. Like there was some kind of shared way about the thought process, I think, in the essayists that I've liked compared to the ones I haven't liked. And I'm just going to give you a couple other examples of the kind of things I'm talking about, but these are going to be a little bit wider. This is why I kind of made it a bit of a wider kind of topic at the beginning. But things like The Lonely City by Olivia Laing, which I really liked, and didn't realise quite how much I liked until after I finished it, I don't think, is a book which kind of focuses around what it's like to be alone in a big city, so what it's like to be isolated whilst simultaneously surrounded by others, and about finding yourself in your isolation, and a bit about like what cities are, a little bit about like gay culture, like queer culture, AIDS and art, and just weaving things in. But the thing that was interesting was that I found her interesting. Do you know what I mean? I would read more of what she wrote because she interests me. Similarly with a book I've finished really recently, which is The Argonauts by Maggie. You probably heard me talk about Bluets on my channel, which is a kind of a poetry collection. And this is something I think it's a really hard piece of work to categorise. It's definitely non-fiction, but it's hard to say what it is. And it you know, it kind of puts that line between essays. She's writing about gender and identity and fluidity and transformations of body and mind, and the link between bodies, so what separates a male body and a female body, or the body of a child and a mother, and it links it really personally with her. So there's this kind of academic tone to what is almost memoir, and that's the kind of thing I'm talking about when I'm saying it's a little bit wider than just essays itself. I really love this book as well. I'll talk about it more in my wrap up, but again, it's that link I had with her. And I think, to be honest, what's best with essays, if you're new to them and you're wanting to get into them, is normally you can find some excerpts from the writer online or interviews with them, and I think you'll know much better if you're going to like their work, if you like them, than you will with lots of other kinds of writing, which was a really new experience for me, because normally I separate the author and the work quite strongly when I read, but I don't think that's possible with essay. So I thought, just to finish things off, I'd show you a few things that I have bought that I'm looking forward to getting to. And the first couple that I thought I'd show you are just two of George Orwell's essay collections, Why I Write and Books versus Cigarettes. You guys know I've been on a bit of an Orwell kick with his non-fiction essays recently, and I've really been enjoying doing that. So I've got another couple to jump into, and again, it's a case of me liking the way he thinks, so I'd pick up something that George Orwell had written rather than only choosing books on like cigarettes and books, if that makes sense. Yeah, so there's those two I'm really looking forward to. And the last one is slightly different, but I think it falls into a similar camp, and that is a collected book of journalism. So obviously journalism is a slightly different kind of form of writing and form of art than essay, but I think they're similar in that you have a topic explored by an individual, and when journalism's done right, I think it's the same as when essays are done right, in that you're interested in what that individual has to say. So I've not read anything from this one yet. And I think this is like collected journalism from the whole of his life, from his early career through to his death. And he wrote, I know he wrote like one of the first accounts of the Calais jungle, and he wrote a lot about refugees and the refugee crisis, and I think he does some stuff about sort of UK politics and foreign politics as well. Pretty sure, let's have a look. Yeah, so there's travel, home, and sort of refugees are the kind of topics in here. I'm really looking forward to getting to this one. This will be my first book of collected journalism, so we'll see how I get on with that as a medium, because that's something I'm really interested to explore. Do let me know in the comments down below what your favourite essay collections are, because it's something I am really enjoying at the moment and would like to read more of. Let me know if this was helpful, and if you have any questions, maybe leave them in the comments down below, because I know it's definitely something I didn't know anything about like even a year ago, and it's something that I'm really enjoying getting my teeth into now. So yeah, I'll see you guys soon in my next video, and look after yourselves until then. Bye.